Hey, it's Dew, and I'm back from my summer away, and I'm here to talk about, I don't know, maybe a little over 10 books, um, which were the sort of my end of summer reading. I read them all digitally or audioly, but the vast majority of them I actually have the physical copy here. And am in the process of, once I'm done with this video, I'll redistribute them into little free libraries or give them to friends who I had in mind, who would like said book. The first book I guess I'll mention is The Safe Keep, which was the winner of the Women's Prize for Fiction 2025, and I think that was a wrap for me as far as reading the whole shortlist. That was the last one. It was a great book. There were some parts of it were just so fantastic. As I continue to read many books, I I guess my only criticism, if I were to wage one, is the use of the journals. I didn't really feel compelled into really that character through the journals, through the diary. So the story takes place in the 1960s in Holland, and it explores the post-war situation with redemption regarding what happened to Jewish lives and livelihoods. It also explores the rights of women, and conditions and situations of women, and it's also a love story. Definitely worth a read, and I'm glad that I got to it. The next book, and these are not in the order that I read them, they're just in the order that I have them in the pile, is Detransition Baby by Torrey Peters. Torrey Peters has a new book out. I'm excited to hopefully pick that up at some point, because I really have a lot of respect for Torrey Peters' craft as a writer. Torrey Peters really is able to write complex characters in complex situations and bring readers into the lives, ideas, ideals, and of these characters. There was so much that I learned from Detransition Baby. There was a lot of perspective that I was given from a feminist point of view, that I really deeply appreciate, and I would recommend this book to absolutely anybody. This is such a fantastic book, and I really especially think it should be read by people who have zero experience with queer lives, trans lives, or even feminist ideas and ideals. Yeah, this is Detransition Baby by Torrey Peters. The next book I also really loved. It's On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. This book I listened in audio, and the author reads his own work. I found that incredibly captivating, as this is a letter to his mother. It is so incredibly full of grace and insight, and I like the way that he oscillates between reflection, poetry, poetic description, and sort of and little storytellings which build up his life and his way in which to engage with the world. I think I'm so glad I listened to this book. I might hold on to the physical copy so that I can actually read it with my eyes. Ocean Vuong also is another one who has a new book out, which I am just really excited to read when I get my hands on it. And so if I don't hold on to this, it'll come back to me. I got this at one of my 2 free books for the Friends Library, because there's many people to whom I'd like to give this book, and the gifting of this book is really the gift of a precious, precious gem. Oh, this is the second book I've read by this author, which is Xochitl Gonzalez. I really enjoyed the first book. I gave it to a friend who is an artist. As the protagonist in that last book, in the other book that I read by Xochitl Gonzalez, whose name is escaping me right now because I'm holding Olga Dies Dreaming. It's Laughs Last. Anyway, that one I gave to a friend who then shared it with her partner. Xochitl Gonzalez is a great author, spins a great story, really covers female and Latine issues. This particular one has to do with classism, women's rights, certainly a good look at the hurricane that hit Puerto Rico and some insight into Puerto Rico, and the politics and the tension and the human rights violations or lack of consideration during that time. I thought this was a fantastic read. I definitely have some people in mind I would give it to, but I also think that I'll just donate this to the Friends of the Library. Oh, The History of Love by Nicole Krauss. I really didn't know what I was getting into. This was an audio. So glad I did it on audio. I loved this book. This book was such a heartwarming. I listened to it on a long train ride. It was an overnight train ride, and literally I listened to this the whole way, as sleeping on the train wasn't really going to be an option. And I mean, there were times it just moved me to absolute tears. This story follows a man who's a Jewish man, so we're in Poland. We're looking at more World War II consequences, but this is a love story. This is a love story. This is a story of friendship and betrayal and loss and love. And yeah, again, it moved me to tears several times. I didn't even anticipate much about this book. The History of Love didn't necessarily, nor anything about it didn't really say to me, oh yeah, this is going to be a book that you love so much. But as it was on my summer reading, sort of list of possibilities, I came across it. I'm so glad I listened to it audio. I thought the audio production was really great, and yeah. Yang Jiechu's Night Tiger. This one I read. This was a fun read of all of the books so far. This one is probably the one that I have the least glowing review to say, but definitely was worth a read. Takes place in what is now Malaysia, so that setting was new to me. I haven't read very many books, and certainly recently in Malaysia. Kind of a little magic realism in this book, looking at the myths of what are night tigers, and following the life of a woman, and looking at the situation in the setting, the space and time of women and their situation. Okay, A Man Called Ove. I'm going to give this book to my mother. She's just going to love this book. This book is nothing if not heartwarming. I listened to this book totally, again, glad that I listened. I found myself not going, it was during vacation. I found myself being like, I'll meet you all later, because I just wanted to listen to this book more. It's just sweet and endearing and heartwarming, and what a just fantastic character, and a little story about a man and his amazing love for his wife, and a community that wraps around him. Oh, The Folded Earth by Anuradha Roy. Yeah, this was a great book. I read this book in a digital way, and this book follows a woman who starts over again, thinking that life, had sort of dealt her some, knowing that life had dealt her some hard blows. She relocates into a really rural village up in the Himalayas, and then sort of rebuilds her life. This is a book about new starts, about redemption, about small towns, and living in them for better or for worse, and of course about the earth. There's a lot of the setting in this is really, really well done and beautiful. Okay, Damascus Station by David McCloskey. This is a spy novel. This is about Syria. This is like in the somewhat recent history of all of just the tragic events that happened in Syria. Very much written like a spy novel, kind of dripping with some sort of toxic masculinity, and definitely a hard read, because when one engages with the Syrian regime, they have to take a hard look at just how dire humanity can be. Yeah, I think that there's several more in this series. I wouldn't necessarily go looking for them, but if one came across my, I found it in a little free library, I might consider it. And then finally, The Bandit Queens by Parini Shroff. What a exciting, fun read. What a look at the situations and options and opportunities of women in patriarchy. And this also takes place in a small town. There's a lot of criticism of small town, but there's a lot of glorification of what small town communities can do, what women can do when they band together. And it's bold. It's really bold, this book. It in some ways reminded me a little of like You Can Go Home Now, as far as women having to result in actual murder to get out of the situations that they're in, which will only lead to their demise. And she's just had such a great time writing it. You can tell, like, the author's note at the end explains some of her process, and I had a fantastic time reading it. So that's it. Those are the end of my summer reading. The next video will be a kind of a TBR. I have no idea how much reading I'll be doing waltzing into the fall. I maybe anywhere from 3 to 5 books a week is probably where I'll set my sort of intentionality. But we shall see, and I'll collect 5 books that were left over from my summer reading sort of pile that I didn't get to, and make a TBR and see how this next week or so of reading goes.